What's up, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you are doing awesome. Today, I'm going to reveal an equalizer, let's say, basic approach, which I wish I had knew in the beginning of my producing and mixing career. Because the problem is, many people who are, let's say, in the beginning, or they are not so experienced yet, they struggle with they are overwhelmed with possibilities. And I have a mentoring program running where I teach people to produce and mix electronic music on a professional way. And many of my students who come to me, they approach EQing way too complicated. And that's what I want to solve here now forever. So stick to me. At the end, I'm going to show an additional trick which I use in EQing. And before we go into the track and the topic, please, guys, subscribe to this channel. It's very important that you share this channel, that you like it, and that you write a comment below it so that I can produce more of it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you want to see next so I can produce it for you. All right, so let's go into the track here. I'm just going to make this window a little bit smaller here. And then this is a track from a client which I mixed. This is not the final version. It's just work in project. I just opened the project to show you the equalizer tricks, which I want to show you here. So let's have a listen first. All right, this is the track. It's, let's say, a melancholic or like minimal techno kind of track. Very nice track, actually. Shout out to the guys who made it. But let's go straight into the EQ topics. So first of all, what I want to tell you. First of all, there is a difference of EQing in producing, mixing, mastering, and bus EQing. What is the difference? The difference, if you EQ in producing and mixing, let's say everything is allowed. If it sounds good, it is good. If you EQ in mixing or on buses, if you, let's say, not everything is allowed, because if you boost more than, let's say, 3 dB, you don't boost in mastering more than 3 dB, because if you have to boost about 3 dB, you have to correct it and fix it in the mix, because mastering is not meant to be to solve issues in the mix. It is there to enhance a mix. You should, for the best possible result, we always aim for top quality. Like we want to conquer the world with our music, you know. Everything needs to be perfect, so every step in the production needs to be perfect. So the mix don't need to be perfect, and if it's perfect, then the mastering is on top to make the extra 5-10% to the mix to make it awesome. But let's talk about EQing. The problem is that many people are overwhelmed with possibilities, and I want to show you the most basic approach of EQing in production, in producing, and in mixing. So, for example, let's take the sound here. Or let's say this is the same, I think. So let's remove the EQ here. And in mixing, EQing in mixing and in production, everything is about balance, which means we have the frequency spectrum from 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz, and we want to fill it up. We don't want frequency masking, and we want to balance each segment in the spectrum, the lows, the bass, the low mids, the mid-range, the high mids, the high end. We want to get it in balance as good as possible. And this is your skill. And how can you do it in the most easiest and effective way? The most easiest and effective way is to do it with 4 parameters. This is very simple, guys, yet. So you use a low shelf, a high shelf, a low cut, and a high cut. That's it. So in the beginning, if you struggle with EQing, that you don't know how to approach this, just use the 4 parameters. Use the low cut, use the high cut, use the low shelf and the high shelf. So for example, here's the low shelf. I always recommend to start with 12 dB per octave, then use the low and the high shelf. And just using these 4 parameters, you can balance and EQ almost every sound to, let's say, 80% of perfection, which is really, really good. So, for example, let's have a listen to the lead sound here. Let's have a listen without EQ, without low cut. I just make it like this. And you see, just with these parameters, I can control the low mids, I can control the high end, I can control the low cut, the high cut, and shape it and balance it in the context, so though it will fit in the bigger vision. Of course, it makes no sense to EQ while I listen in solo. I just did it here for the video, but this is actually my tip, to just use 4 parameters: low shelf, high shelf, low cut, high cut, and that's it. And try to balance everything signal as possible, and you will have, you know what to do from now on. You know the route. And if you still struggle to EQ sound, simply ask yourself, most of the time, the EQing, not on kick and bass, I have to say, EQing on the other elements is a balance between, most of the time, the low mids and the high mids. So the low mids are, let's say, I don't know, 200 hertz to 1K, and the high mids are 1K to 8K, something, roughly around this. And it's always a balance in these 2 areas to find the perfect sweet spot and the best balance in everything. And as I told you in the beginning, I want to reveal an additional, let's say, equalizer special. It's very basic, but again, everything is about understanding the basics. And what I want to show you, many times the case is you boost a signal. So for example, there's a signal which needs presence. It don't cut through the mix. So you can boost it. Let's say in this case, let's have a listen. So we boosted quite drastic, about 10 dB at 800 hertz. Of course, this is just for the demonstration in the video. In mixing, probably you are more gentle, but again, in mixing, everything is allowed if it sounds good. In mastering, not. So, for example, now I boosted the high end, and this has positive and negative effects. The positive effect that everything is more present, it stands out in the mix better, but the negative side effects that it maybe now have some harsh frequency. So now we take an additional bell EQ with a medium size Q, and we sweep the spectrum and look for the most annoying frequency. Here, I would say here. So 3.7 kilohertz. So I make the Q size a little bit smaller, and then I cut it. So with this additional notch or cut, I can, let's say, gentle the high shelf boost. So this EQ move is a combination of the high shelf and then the bell cut. So let's have a listen. And you see, in that way, you can work on every element to balance it. In the mixing, you have to do it on every channel. On every channel, you set the low cut, you check the low shelf and the high shelf, and you balance it, that you get the right balance. All right, guys, subscribe to this channel. I hope you liked the video. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. If you want that I mix your music, if I want to master the music, below is the address where you can apply for it. Also for the mentoring program, just let me know in the comments, write me something, and I see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.